Hi guys, we're at Barnes & Noble today and we're going to look for memoirs. So it's an overcast day and a good day to go inside in a bookstore and look for memoirs. I know a lot of people that I've been talking to lately are interested in writing a memoir or a self-help book, and sometimes it's hard to tell the difference between the two. So we're going to look and see how they're shelved in a bookstore. It's different than how they're shelved in a library or even on Amazon. So I was thinking about this earlier. It might be a little confusing, but it's probably good to just start here and see where memoirs are shelved and what else is around them. I'm looking for the book Educated, which I think came out about a year ago. Transparency here, I started the book and couldn't finish it because just it reminded me of stuff that I didn't want to be reminded of at the moment. So that's what memoirs do. But there's been a bit of a boom in memoirs in the past couple years, and that's good. We need those stories, and they're going to keep coming. So let's see if we can find where Educated is shelved in this particular Barnes & Noble. Why am I picking Barnes & Noble? One, it's the closest one to where I live. It's the closest bookstore to where I live. Two, it's large, and I can film without bothering people. Three, I worked at Barnes & Noble long ago, so I understand how Barnes & Nobles work. Most bookstores work the same way, but there's certain bookstores that are independent bookstores are going to have their own way of doing things, and the buying is done for an independent bookstore. The buying is done at the independent store level, and so it's going to be dependent on what that particular bookstore owner wants to stock and keep in stock and sell, and what their community wants. Barnes & Noble sometimes has stuff that's targeted for a community, and they'll have local authors in the store, the books from the local authors in their store, but most of the buying for Barnes & Noble is done in New York in corporate office. And I used to go, and that was one of my jobs for different publishers, was to call on Barnes & Noble and pitch our books. So the store stock is going to be the same, like 95% of the stock is the same in every single Barnes & Noble bookstore. Quantities are going to go up and down depending on sales numbers and stuff like that. So 5% maybe, I don't know. This was a long time ago. I had a job where I bought the books for the store in that 5% range. I don't know if they even do that anymore. That may still all be up in corporate. So anyway, let's go in and see if we can find some memoirs. Okay, this has been interesting. We found Educated. It's not where it's supposed to be. So it's supposed to be in biography, which is in history, okay? That's where it's supposed to be. It's not here. There's 15 in the store and they can't find them. So we found this one on a display. But this has been educational because what I've learned is, and I knew memoirs were put in biography, but biography is someone writes a story about someone else, or a book about someone else. Memoir is the writing of your own story. So to have memoir and biographies under biography is a little confusing. Another thing I found interesting is that, so Michelle Obama's book came out last year, Becoming, which is a memoir, and here we have a journal, okay, a guided journal based on Becoming, and then we have quotes to live by. I don't know if that's connected to Becoming or not, but it's interesting that it's a similar color palette, so it may be related. This is Carlton Books. I'm thinking that's going to be a gift imprint of a publisher, and it's just quotes. It's just quotes, okay, that she has said. Now, she's licensed this, obviously. You can't just do a book of someone else's quotes and make money off of it. So that's why I think it's connected to Becoming and this Becoming journal. This journal is very interesting. Here's that half cover flap that seems to be popular. We saw it last week on Chase Jarvis's book. So we've got the colored end papers. Okay, this is by let's see, Potter, which again is a gift publisher / imprint. But what's interesting inside is, and I wish I had 3 hands. Okay, it's a 2-color printing of a book. So you've got this green and the white on the cream, okay, and black. So black and white with the green. This is a 2-color print process. Also notice there's a ribbon. I don't know if you can see the ribbon. See the ribbon? So there's a ribbon that costs more on the printing. So this is very interesting that they've taken a memoir and made a journal from it. That's a very clever thing to do. $19.99 for this journal. Okay, so as we look through here right this minute, there are a number of memoirs. So for example, here's one. How did I get here? A memoir. And you'll notice a lot of times they do say a memoir. Trevor Noah's book is a memoir. So you can tell a lot of times because it's by the author and not a book about someone else. I want to show you another place where I found some memoirs, which surprised me. Sciences. And as I was standing over here waiting for the bookseller to come back with a copy of Educated, I noticed Made. So this is a memoir that came out about a year ago. Now, a book will come out in hardcover, and then if the sales are good in hardcover, it goes to paperback. So this tells me the sales were very good of this, and I imagine they were because she was on NPR, and she had a good publicity round. So it sold well enough to come out in paperback a year later. What's interesting about the printing of this, which is a little bit costly, is this little jagged edge here with the cover, and then this special page on the inside. Okay. The layout is very clean, very pretty. Okay, reads like a novel. That's what a memoir does. It reads like a novel. It looks like a novel. It needs to look like a novel. If you remember, and we'll do a comparison, we looked at some self-help books last week that had color, and they had special quotes, and they had lines and questions, and they had special design inside. This does not. This is clean. You want to feel like you're reading a novel. So I want to point that out. Okay, while we're standing here, I'm going to take out Educated. Now, notice that Educated is still in hardcover. It came out about the same time. It's still in hardcover. So its sales are doing even better. It's not in paperback yet. All right. And let's look at the back. Okay, a great back. Some good. It's won some awards. So this is not the original cover because it's won some awards, and there's extra praise. So this is a new printing of the first print run. But notice, again, clean, no fancy colors on the inside like we saw last week in the self-help books. And again, as we go through it, very clean layout. It's just the story, okay? No special doohickeys or quotes or colors or chapter tags or anything like that, okay? So that's one thing to notice about the way a memoir is designed. Another memoir here. So I'm really surprised to see memoirs here in the social sciences because they're also talking about, we're right next to Freakonomics. So that's something to be aware of when you're writing your memoir is what is the story, what is it about? Educated was supposed to be in biography. Made, which is about someone who's working as a maid, obviously, and dealing with life issues, is in social sciences. Well, I want to point out this book here that stands out. Now look at this cover. How to Do Nothing. Jenny Odell. We're in social sciences. There's not a lot of women's books by women authors in the social sciences section. They're mostly by men. I love how they've done this colorful floral cover on How to Do Nothing. Now, she is an author, an artist, so this book is going to be a little bit more artistic because that's what her work is. So we have the pink on the inside, but it's still, again, this is social sciences, this is not memoir. But what's interesting is just to look at the inside, the interior. Okay. Another thing I want to point out about Educated versus Made. Educated is a 6x9, and it looks like it's going to be around 300 pages. So let's see. They don't do the page numbers all the way to the end of the book. So we're at 3 328. Okay, so over 300, so 330 some odd pages on a 6x9. That's a pretty big book. Made. Looks like a 5x8, maybe even 5x7.5. Didn't bring my ruler. 273 pages. So see, again, just the trim size can change page count, and that's important to know. All right. I want to look at some other memoirs here. Here's a table of must-read nonfiction. Okay, they're not all memoirs. So this is a biography. This is a memoir. See how it says a memoir? How do we know it's a biography? The Life of Audrey Hepburn by Donald Spoda. Okay, here's a memoir. I can't make this up. Life Lessons, Kevin Hart. If we look inside of these memoirs, see, there are pictures because it's Olivia Newton-John, and of course we're going to want to see pictures of her. And it's a little more artistic because she is a celebrity, so we get this treatment with the titles on the chapter titles. Get a little bit more, but again, we're not going over the top with the design. The color inserts of the photos are going to happen for a celebrity because we want to see the pictures of that person. Okay. Let's see what Kevin Hart's book looks like inside. Okay, now see, this is very designed, like we were talking about with the self-help books. And he's got pictures. And so he's got, sorry for the language there. All right, so this is very designed. Very nice. $17. 5x8. What's the page count? It's quite a long book. 378 pages. So that's a very long book. And it's in paperback, so that means that the hardcover sold well. $17. That's quite a good bargain. So, again though, he's a comedian, he's in entertainment, so his book needs to look a little more jazzed up. Here we go, Carol Burnett's memoir, one probably of her memoirs. Okay, again, see how we've got pictures inside, we've got some special type font. She's a celebrity, that's what's going to happen. Okay, I just want to show one more thing that I've noticed. I found, let's see here, hold on. Again, I need 3 hands. I found Becoming. Okay, it's in the new nonfiction section. Been out a year, it's still new nonfiction. What I want to see, I want to show you something that I see and see if you see it too, okay? Looking at the interiors to see how they're designed. So here's Becoming. Here is Educated. Again, nice and clean, looks like a novel. What do you notice here? All right. What I notice is in Educated we have chapter titles. In Becoming we just have the chapter. So that's interesting. I kind of like that they don't have chapter names, chapter titles. Look how clean this book is. Look how nice the layout is. Okay, and compare that to what we just saw with Kevin Hart's book. Again, Michelle Obama's a celebrity, she's well known, but her book is a little more serious. It doesn't need to be pretty, it does, I mean, you know, like extra design things. It doesn't need all that extra stuff. This is a very long book as well, 6x9. We are at 425, 26, 27, 28, 428 pages, okay? Very good. And priced at 32.50. Can't read this. This one, Educated, is priced at $28. So, anyway, just wanted to point that out. One other kind of book that could be confusing for people that's kind of memoir, but this is over in business, okay? So we know Howard Schultz's book here, Onward, and also here's another one, Colin Powell, okay? So these are somewhat memoir because they're talking about their life and the things they did, and it's their story. But in Colin Powell's book, he's talking about his 13 rules, okay? So he's got a book about leadership, how to be a leader. So it's his story, but he's also talking about how to be a leader. based on his story. But if you look inside, again, not fancy, basic. Businessmen don't have time for fancy right now, or when this book was done. This book has been out for a few years. So Howard Schultz's book, again, is not necessarily his story, it's the story of Starbucks and how Starbucks got its start. So it's tied into his story. So it's a business memoir, a business book, a business memoir. Also notice with Joanne Gordon, so that's the contributing author. Colin Powell had a contributing author, Tony Colts. Okay, so these writers, contributing writer, not contributing author, they do get some title, some cover credit. So that's not all ghostwriters get that. One thing I noticed though in Howard Schultz's book is there's pictures. Okay, we got color pictures of what happened. And see these titles, so the chapter titles and the design, it's very nicely designed. It's got some bells and whistles to it in the design. Rodale is not necessarily a business publisher, so that's an interesting choice. See, business memoir. So memoirs can be in a lot of different places. One more place I want to show some memoirs is over here in cooking. So we've got cookbooks, right? I'm down here on the floor, and we've got some food memoirs or cooking memoirs. Notes from a young black chef, Kitchen Confidential, which was arguably probably one of the first books to kind of create this genre. Ruth Reichel, I think is how you say her name. Tender at the Bone. She was also around the same time, and her books came out. She was a writer for the New York Times, I believe, food writer. So these are also memoirs, and they're in the food section because they're writing about food. So the story of their memoir is through the food that they ate, their experiences with food growing up for Ruth. Okay, and see the nice design inside. And this is multiple printings of this paperback. It's been out for 20 years or so. It's got recipes, so it's got some nice design. Kitchen Confidential has been out since probably the early 90s. It's about his experiences in restaurants in New York. Okay, again, nice design, but a little bit of extra elements here and there. Okay, but these are also memoirs. So memoirs can be in any number of places in this particular bookstore. Some bookstores are going to have a memoir section. This one does not. We will look at memoirs in the library some other day. Okay, well that was fun. I was a little surprised. I knew the memoirs were going to be in biography/history, which bothers me a little bit. I want them all separated out. I don't know if you feel the same way. Let me know if you do in the comments below. But I did not expect to find memoir in social sciences. That's kind of a relatively new development, last 5 years or so. That doesn't surprise me though, and it's good because our stories are related to society and social issues and culture, and that's where social sciences, in this particular story, that's what's in social sciences. So it makes sense. It just was a surprise to me. Then I started realizing, wait a minute, there are memoir in business, and I knew about the food memoirs because I used to shelve the whole store, so I knew that there was a section for food writing and food memoir. And it's fun to see old books or old favorites, books that you've seen before. I would love to have gone over that whole table where Kevin Hart's book was and looked at all of them and point out memoir, not memoir, memoir, not memoir. But someone was standing right next to my left arm, where listening to me, I think, and he didn't leave. And actually, after I stopped filming, I realized it was a bookseller, so he was probably trying to figure out what I was doing. But he didn't bother me. He left me alone. So yay, Barnes & Noble. So, is there something else you want to know about memoir and how it's designed and where it's shelved and pricing and trim size and page count? Because I love talking about that stuff. I'll figure out a tripod or a way to get a third arm so I can open the books a little better as we do this more often. So thank you for joining me, and stay tuned next week. I don't know, what should we talk about? I'm thinking about maybe writers' books, because those are always fun to look at and dream about, and maybe I'll buy a few. I didn't buy anything this time. Someone asked me, did I buy a book on my last trip? And yes, I did, and I will share about that in Instagram, which book I bought. I did not buy a book today, though the bookseller was trying to get me to buy Educated, but I'm just not there yet to read it. So I will see you next time. Bye.